Hello, everyone. Welcome to our fifth episode of Leading Ladies Conversation with Queens. Today, we are here with our beloved Spanish teacher, Ms. DelRosario.
Hello, and thank you for having me. Such a privilege.
Okay, so Miss DelRosario was born in Williamsburg, Brooklyn to immigrant parents from the Dominican Republic. She lived in a small apartment on the South 3rd, and at the time, her neighborhood was predominantly Hispanic on the South Side with a strong Hasidic community on the North. She remembers being the only person in her building who knew how to read and write in both English and Spanish, and due to that skill, she was asked to fill out many government forms for her parents, friends, and neighbors. She taught herself Spanish at the age of 9 from a free Jehovah's book that was left on her doorstep. At the age of 8, she learned how to sew, and her very first job at the age of 12 was working at a sweatshop, Sun South 9 by the river, run by Hasidic Jews. She did piecework for 3 days until the owner realized that she could speak, read, and write in English and Spanish. He pulled her off the machines and gave her a job verifying deliveries, placing orders, and dealing with the ladies that worked on the floor sewing. She graduated JH50 and went to Seward Park High School. Her high school years were tough, and she worked a number of jobs to help her parents and had to learn how to manage her time, but was able to keep all of her grades up. She applied to one university, with her parents giving her the option to work at the family bodega if she did not get in. She applied to NYU and ended up getting in. And during her years at NYU, she worked at the NYU Law Review as a translator and also worked independently for law firms translating documents and serving as an interpreter. She changed her bio major to Spanish literature after realizing that the labs and the books were way too expensive for a career in the medical field. In her last year at NYU, she worked as a foster care social worker. In 2001, she joined the Elmont faculty and has been there ever since, trying to make a change in the students she's come across and the families that she touches.
Thank you.
To start off with our first question, it'll be describe your upbringing and how the experiences shape the person who you are today.
Like was said from my bio, I'm Dominican American. I was born in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. My mom actually came here illegally, but my dad did not. I started working from a very young age, the age of 12. I guess I had a normal upbringing. Now looking back, I realized that we came up without the material things like the toys, the sneakers, the clothes, but we had love and we were taught loyalty and hard work. And that has carried me through my teen years and my early adult years and they're pretty much the pillars that I've passed on to my children. Love above everything, loyalty, especially to those that love you back, and hard work, not to expect anything and not to be afraid to work hard for what you want.
So, we know that you entered the workforce at a very young age. What was it like working and entering the workforce at such a young age? And do you think that those skills have helped you within your overall life?
Back then, it wasn't strange for you to start working at the age of 12 or 13, especially in Williamsburg over by the East River. Now, it's like bohemian $1 million apartments. Back then, when I was young, they were all factories. And so a lot of mothers took their daughters to work. That's why they taught us to sew at a very young age. So for my mom to take me with her at the age of 12 was the norm in our community. However, within 3 days, the floor or the shop person, they would call them the shop person or the floor manager, realized, you read? wait, you speak English and write? Wait, you're not doing this. And piecework was you got paid for every piece of, let's say, a sweater that you sewed. And it was like maybe 15 cents. And I was assigned to collars. So I had a machine and I had to assemble the collars. And when he learned that I can read and write, he pulled me from the machine and they paid me a salary. I earned $75 a week. And so that's the only difference from the other young girls that were going. They were sewing, you know. I was in the office, thanks to my ability to be able to read and write in both languages.
So you speak about how important it is to have that bilingual background and how that allowed you to make more money in the field that you were working in at the time. So what's your opinion on the importance of becoming bilingual and being able to communicate with different individuals?
It's very important. I mean, it's been the one ability that's opened so many opportunities in both my personal and professional life. And it's allowed me to become a bridge for so many people, especially back in the early 80s. There weren't as many forms, government forms that were in Spanish. And I was able to help a lot of people that needed assistance in one way or another through that ability of being able to communicate in two languages. And I urge my students every day, and I tell them of the importance of it is not just to speak Spanish and English, but let's say French and English, Creole and English, whatever it is, the more languages you are able to speak, the better off you are. The more of a service you are to the people, to your community, especially a community like Elmont, where so many languages are spoken in our school.
You spoke about growing up and really installing the values of hard work and loyalty and love. What was your experience growing up as a Latina in the American society?
Tiffany, I've been a guest in two worlds. I'm a guest in my own country here in the United States, because when they ask me, where are you from? And I said, well, I'm American. No, where are you from? I'm American. No, from where? I hear an accent. So I always have to fall back and say, well, my parents are from the Dominican Republic. But when I go back to the Dominican Republic and I speak Spanish, Dominicans say, wait, you're not Dominican. Wait, Americana? Eres Americana? They pick up. So it's funny because Americans here say, well, you have an accent. Well, the Dominican Republic, they say the same thing to me. And so in the Dominican Republic, I become a guest because I'm American. But in my own country, here where I was born, I'm American. So at times I almost feel like homeless. Okay, I'm not fully accepted as an American and I'm not fully accepted as a Dominican, and I've grown up feeling that way, especially because my parents are immigrants. They raised me to feel almost as if I had to be grateful. Always be grateful that you're here. Be thankful. You know, be thankful to be given the opportunity to go to school, to get a profession, to go to the university. Always be grateful, as if they were doing me a favor when this is my country. So yes, growing up Latina, growing up Dominican American has been a duality in me. Am I 100% Dominican? Am I 100% American? Well, sometimes I feel Dominican and sometimes I feel American. But to people, I'm not 100% one or 100% another. You know, and I feel that a lot of people, a lot of people that have grown up, let's say parents from be it Jamaica, Haiti, or any other country, feel the same way that I do, you know?
I agree with you 100%. And with working at Elmont, you see a lot of kids coming in from all different places around the world. With your experience, how do you think we can help these individuals treat them better and be better at navigating through the world that they are coming into?
Um, First, I have to say we have to notice them. We have to acknowledge their existence in our school, um, because to many of our students and some faculty, it's almost like they're non-existent. You know, they're there. Um, so we have to really welcome them. A lot of our clubs are not inviting to them. They don't know these things about school clubs and extracurricular activities. To them is foreign. And I don't feel that we reach out to them. Remember, they for the first 2 or 3 years, they don't move. They're in one classroom for the majority part of their day because they don't know the American or the English language. So they're in one room. So they almost become isolated. And then no one goes to that room and invites them, hey, be part of Key Club or be part of anime or be part of, and that's where we need to change and be more inviting of this group that's coming in and be more sensitive to them. You know, they're afraid of systems, especially our system, the American system. You know, they themselves are strange to this system, to this culture. And so we need to help them feel more comfortable in it and that it's okay. But a lot of them are afraid, not of the students, but again, the system, you know, am I invited? Am I welcomed? Am I? And so I hear it because they're right by my room when they're speaking amongst each other. And the best thing or what they need are people like us to welcome them so that they have a platform to practice, you know, what they're learning. Because what they do is they congregate with people that speak either Spanish or French or and they don't give themselves the opportunity to practice the language that they're learning, which is English.
So with that gradual entrance of more students from different countries who don't speak the same language as us, what programs or curriculums, because you do speak to the system being very uninviting to them and kind of isolating them, what curriculums or programs do you think need to be in place so that we can further the meeting between the students and their needs?
I'm going to say create opportunities where you know they can become a part of our school culture. Opportunities, maybe just for them. Um, Include them in the curriculum. For instance, in English classes, when they read books like Mockingbird, they don't understand that culture. They don't, you know, when we talk about civil rights and racism, they don't understand it because they're coming from countries where they're all the same. See, they're all Dominicans or they're all Guatemalans or they're all, so that is very, so we have to find a way where we can help them understand that. But, you know, they're expected to read this book and then they come to me and I'm like, and they're like, I don't understand this. Why do they write about this? You know, so that needs to be integrated into the curriculum. We just can assume that they understand the pain that our country has been through for many years because it doesn't exist in their countries.
Having immigrant parents yourself, do you think the experience with immigration helps you understand students who newly immigrated as a teacher?
100%. I know where they're coming from. That's why they feel comfortable coming to me and talking to me about certain things that they see or they hear. Um, I understand almost that loneliness or that feeling of alienation that they sometimes experience, that it's just in their imagination because they don't understand the surrounding and I have to break it down to them. Yeah, 100% because it's a lot of what my parents went through. And also that feeling of let me make them feel comfortable around me or let me make myself be invisible to them was what my parents, I saw in my parents that my parents passed down to my sisters and me. If you can't be invisible, make them comfortable. And I see that a lot within our ENL community.
So at Elmont, you have created so many safe spaces for your students with running class clubs, and you have made several movements within the World Language Honor Society. And through that, you have gone on many trips and experienced many different things with your students. Uh, how do the trips and the things that you organize with your students within World Language Society or other school events affect you as a teacher?
Um, well, the trips and our international trips give me another platform to teach. Um, During these international trips, we're away for 8, 9 days, and it gives me the opportunities to teach outside of the classroom. So now the world has become my classroom. And it serves as with teachable moments where we oftentimes, have tough conversations. Because when we arrived, let's say, to a place like Italy, that was our last trip before the whole pandemic outbreak, the COVID outbreak. Um, I mean, we were talking about 30 people, 20 something people of color in a European country. So you can only imagine every time, we arrived at a hotel or a restaurant, museum, cathedral, heads turn. And so these are the times that I take this opportunity to talk about things that we don't necessarily have the time or the opportunity to talk about in the classroom. Another thing that I've noticed is, so we were just talking about ENL students almost being invisible in our school. However, something happens when our students go to places like Peru or Costa Rica, and we always go to schools there. They're so cute. Oh my God. They're poor. Oh my God. Oh, let me take a picture. Oh, you see this side of them, this empathy that I don't see at Elmont. And so I stopped them and I asked them, so he doesn't remind you of Pablo? Who? Pablo, the kid that sits behind you? There's a Pablo in that class? Yes, he's been sitting there for like 5 months. No. So I kind of opened their eyes to them. What we're seeing here, we see at Elmont. It exists at Elmont. And you know what I love about it? That when they go back, she sees them and she says hi and she reaches out to them. And so that's what going away allows me to do, to open their eyes, to have that authentic classroom now. It's not some video, YouTube video, or a picture or some anecdote that I'm giving them. I'm showing they're living it, they're experiencing it. And there's nothing more gratifying than when you see a kid trying to order in Spanish or trying to say, my car key doesn't work in Spanish. To me as a teacher, that's what I live for, those moments. And of course, I won't get that in the classroom. So the world becomes my classroom.
So with that, you speak to how that moment where you see them connect with students after they come back from a trip gives you life, basically.
Yeah,
So
very much so.
with that, would you say that's the most rewarding aspect of your endeavors as a teacher, or is there something that you're missing apart because of this pandemic that you can't wait to get back to?
Yes, my students' faces. I'm a people person. And I need the students, I need that vibe. I need, that interaction, the dynamics that happens in the classroom to come alive. So this year has been a struggle, a challenge, because I am teaching to 20 something dots. I've become good at recognizing voices. I mean, amazingly, I've said, oh, okay, so-and-so, yes. So, okay, yes, I know that's you. So I can't wait to get back, to those faces, to those crowded hallways. Hey, Miss Del, hey, what's up? Oh, I love your hair. I love that. You see, I love my job. I truly, honestly love teaching. I love the interactions. I love the extra. I mean, I run 3 clubs. It's like I can't get enough interaction with students. They keep me young. They keep me alive. They keep me wanting to learn different things because I want to share what I learn with them every day. And I share so much of myself. Where other teachers might hold back, oh no, this is my profession. No, I give everything to them. I give them Mrs.DelRosario, and sometimes I give them loose. I give them what they need at that moment.
You mentioned you ran many clubs. What made you start the World Language Honor Society, and how and has it grown into the program it is today?
Well, the World Language Honor Society has always existed at Elmont. When I arrived in 2001, it was already established. It wasn't what it is today. I took over the society about 11 years ago. It didn't have a mission, it didn't have a purpose, and it was considered a club. The first thing I gave it was a mission, and I gave it a purpose, which is to achieve mastery in world languages and promote cultural understanding in our building. And from there, when the ENL program came to our school, I decided to give them a place that they can join and they can feel comfortable and be successful, right? Because they're learning English and to them that's foreign, right? That's different. Just as if you were learning Spanish or Italian or French. And that's when we grew the society to include the ENL kids. When I first took over this society, it was just mainly one group of students, and they were the students that were doing great across the board. And I also ended that. I wanted students from all walks. You know, you might not be that A student in 5 of your classes, but you're ace in Spanish because you love Spanish, then you're gonna come into the society, okay? I've invited kids who have 90 plus averages, but don't have, the greatest behavior. That's fine, because that gives me an opportunity to work with that child. Our male members, when I first took over the society, I think we only have 5% of the members were boys. I changed that and I reached out. I wanted more boys to be part of our society. Why should they just be in math and science, So everything that I wanted to see, I made throughout the years, first with Mrs. Sarace, Ms. Ferraro, and now with Mr. Veneroni. And the society is my heart, and I call them my family members because I love each and every one of them. And at our school, we are 160 strong and active. We are the only society that has events, that takes trips, that we do community service. I mean, we are an active force. So that's my heart. The World Language Honor Society is my heart.
That is truly beautiful, Miss Del. Since you have made so many incredible strides within your career, what is the next step for you?
Okay, about 11 years ago, I got an advanced certificate in administration. I never pursued a role in administration because my children were young at the time. My daughter, Dariana, is graduating. She's going to Hunter. My son will be graduating high school next year. And so I have to honestly say that I've been thinking more and more of taking on a leadership role, making a change where it counts in the curriculum, touching more lives, okay, than just being a teacher, putting myself in that position where I can maybe call the shots, the right shots. So I would say in the next maybe 3 to 5 years, whether it's at Elmont, if I get the opportunity, or if I had to leave Elmont, but I think that the time has come for me to take that position, that next step in my career. But my end goal is to go back to the DR and work for the Dominican government in education and or the embassy in their the branch of education. I go back every summer and I give them a week where they'll send me to a school, a failing school, and I observe them for an entire week. I interact with the teachers and the students, and at the end of the week, I give them my feedback. And that's something that I would like to retire to, make a change back in the DR when it comes to education.
So what I've noticed is although you've worked so many different careers, so many different jobs throughout your entire life, law, looking into medicine, sewing, everywhere, you have always kind of been drawn to education and been drawn to language. So how has that passion for those things, how has that allowed you to discover your driving force in the decisions that you've made in life?
Well, I learned early on in my life the gift that I have of communication and kind of connecting bridges. At the age of 8, I taught myself to learn Spanish. So we arrived home one day and there was like a free Jehovah's Witness book and it was in Spanish. And I said, hey, this is phonetic. And I just started sounding out the words. And that's how I taught myself to read Spanish and write it. I've always been a hard worker, and I'm a true believer in that the only way out of poverty is through education. We lived in a small apartment in Williamsburg when it wasn't cool to live in Williamsburg. We grew up with a lot of necessity. I was one of those students whose meals came from school. And when we didn't have school, I just had that one meal. So I came from that home. To now be able to call the shots in my life. I mean, my parents, my dad went only up to a 5th grade education. I believe my mom, 8th grade education. My dad does 3 zeros as a signature. I had to read a lot of his things and fill out of his paperwork in Spanish. And to have graduated from NYU in Columbia, coming from parents that, barely can read and write in their own languages, just shows the power of education. And that is why I promoted, and everything I do through education, because it really is a way out of poverty.
Being so invested in education and
I'm sorry.
oh, it's okay. Being so invested in education and believing like this is a major part of our lives. What is your opinion on the Dreamers Act, and do you believe that it should have been implemented into American society sooner?
100%. 100%. Just imagine being brought to this country at the age of 2, going to school, believing that you are American, then not being able to apply to college because you're not, and being taking your dreams away. A lot of these people find out when they're 17 or 18 that they're not Americans, that they're illegal. And I mean, it rips their world apart. How many individuals have been deported back to countries that they're strangers to because they've never visited Mexico or Guatemala or Honduras? Okay, so yes, Dreamers Act should have been implemented eons ago. Eons. Why allow me to get a free education when then you're gonna stop me because I'm not American? That is unfair in every way. I mean, and education should be like air, like water. It's our human capital that we're building, regardless of whether they're, documented or undocumented. That has nothing to do with it. I mean, to deprive a person of their right to be educated, to pursue a profession, I mean, I am 100% against that. Not just because I am a teacher, but because education is a way out of poverty. I am a testament of that.
As we are talking about immigration and people getting deported, How has the previous political climate of our nation affected you as someone who has such a deep connection to it and sees it every day?
Um, I became angry and scared. I remember a year before our ex-president um, was voted out of office. Thankfully, I was doing my hair at a Dominican salon, and INS came in and pulled the lady that washed hair in the back. And I felt so afraid, as if I was an undocumented individual. That fear came over me, and I'm never going to forget it. And that's the same fear that is so in so many people, so many of my friends that are not legal stopped going out to public places. I said, hey, you want to go here? No, 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 I'm not taking any chances. You don't know. I'm like, they're not going to go into the mall. You don't know that. You don't know that. They were afraid to leave their homes. And it made me angry and scared. And it brought me back for once, I guess for the first time I understood what my mom felt. My mom was deported. My mom was working in a factory over by what they call Robert Hall, East River, Williamsburg, when INS raided the factory and she was deported. My father did not know where my mother was. I was about 4 years old until 5 days later, she called from the DR and said I was deported. And so my father sent me back. My mom was pregnant with my younger sister, sent me back with my middle sister. And we were there for like 3 years while my father sponsored her. So, I mean, the fear that my mom must have felt when she was taken out in handcuffs, while she waited to be sent back. I understood that for the first time. And my mom only sparingly told us like little bits and pieces here and there. My mom never sat us down and told us what happened. And my mom has been suffering from dementia now for a number of years. And when I wanted to ask her, and just she couldn't. She couldn't. And I told my sisters, and I remember we started crying. And I said, wow, how scared must the mommy felt, not being able to speak English, not knowing what was going to happen to her. She was pregnant and not knowing if she was ever going to see my sister, my middle sister, or myself.
So to experience that as a family, your mother, as a child yourself, I know that it must have been traumatic. So if you could have gone back in time to speak to your younger self, what would you have told her?
Told my mom or myself?
Both.
I would have told my mom, it's going to be okay. Be strong and fight. Fight. Don't be so quick to be appeasing. Okay? Stand up, speak up. Someone's going to hear you. And I would tell myself, don't be afraid of the system you're in, because it's your system and you belong in that system. You're not a guest and they're not giving you anything, because that's pretty much how I felt for the majority of my life. I was always grateful. Oh my God, thank you so much for, the job. Thank you so much for, accepting me in your school. Oh my God, thank you so much for, it was always as if I was being grateful because they were giving me something out of the goodness of their hearts, not like that I earned it or that I had a right to it. And as a young girl, I don't think I was as assertive. I learned to be assertive and I learned to make demands. But for many, many years, I walked around like thank you, thank you, thank you, because that's what I was taught. Make them feel safe, make them feel safe. So I would definitely tell them, no, Luz, speak up from day one, speak up. But that's what I taught my daughter. I teach my daughter every day. No, 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 no. No, you speak up. No, 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 you have a right. No, let them know. You know, I taught her what I wasn't taught by my mom because she was afraid.
Thank you so much, Miss Del. This has been such a beautiful experience.
No, thank you, ladies. Thank you. I mean, what you're doing, the way you're impacting the school, our school culture, the young women that are coming up in our school, I'm proud of you girls and what you're doing and achieving. I'm very proud.
Thank you.